What fixed dining time will you be allocated on your MSC cruise? Can you change it if you don't like it? And can you get a table for two, or do you have to share a larger table with strangers? If you want to know how to work the system, this video is for you. Ahoy there, I'm Captain Chris. I'm not a real captain, but in this video I'm going to tell you how to work the system of fixed dining times on MSC cruise ships. This is based on my experience on the MSC cruise ship Virtuosa, but would very likely apply to many of MSC's ships, but it's Virtuosa I'm talking about specifically here. So there were 4 levels of fare to choose from when we booked our cruise: Bella, Fantastica, Auria and the Yacht Club. Yacht Club guests have their own restaurant to use, and Auria guests dine in a restaurant called Il Campo, and they're on what's called My Choice flexible dining times. What I'm talking about in this video is the 2 lower levels of fare, Bella and Fantastica. In these you get fixed time dining and you have no say in when those times will be, other than maybe requesting a preference for an early or late slot. How it works is that when you embark the ship and you head up to your cabin, you'll find your cruise card in a little envelope hanging on the door. Printed on it are your dining details, which are which of the 4 huge restaurants you'll be dining in, which specific table number you should sit at, and what time you should arrive. This is when you'll discover if your request for an early or late slot has been heeded. My wife and I asked for an early dining time and were given 8:30 p.m, which wasn't really as early as we'd hoped. I think actually the earlier slots are most popular because a lot of people want to have their evening meal and then head off to a show in the theatre or have plenty of time in the bars before the day's out. Now, we'd heard that it was possible to change your allocated dining table once you were on board by speaking to the restaurant manager at the Blue Danube restaurant on deck 5, so we went to see him first thing as soon as we got on board. When we got to the Blue Danube, there was already a huge queue of people all trying to do the same as us. And when we eventually got to the front and asked the restaurant manager for a table for 2 at an earlier time, he said there were none available and we were stuck with the table we'd been allocated. Feeling a bit dispirited and having wasted a lot of time queuing for no benefit, we attended our restaurant that evening at 8:30 and asked at the door if there were any tables for 2 available. To our surprise, we were told that there were, and we could switch to one of these tables that you can see here. So here's a quick reality check. The tables for 2, most of them anyway, are literally 4 inches apart. So you may think that a table for 2 brings you privacy, but it doesn't really. But after dining here for 2 or 3 evenings, we realised something that seems obvious now but hadn't really occurred to us before. We noticed that some of the tables around us were always empty and others were only in use on some of the nights. The reason for this is the crucial point of this video. Everyone on board has a table allocated to them, but the specialty restaurants that you have to pay extra for and the huge marketplace buffet up on deck 15 are really popular. So many guests never take their places at the table they've got reserved for them in the main restaurants, but the tables have to be saved for them just in case they do. Their tables are held for 15 minutes and after that they're up for grabs. The dining times in our restaurant were 8:30 and 6 o'clock, so once we realised all that, we would go to the restaurant at 6:15, 15 minutes after the time slot, and ask if anyone hadn't taken their allocated table for 2. Invariably there was a spare table and we were delighted to accept it. Of course, the worst that could have happened was being told that no tables were available for the earlier sitting, in which case we'd simply have come back at our correct time of 8:30, safe in the knowledge that we had a guaranteed table then. The dining times in symphony and opera restaurants are 6 p.m. and 8:30. In the Minuetto restaurant they're a quarter of an hour earlier at 5:45 and 8:15. And in the Blue Danube, which is the biggest of all the restaurants, There are 3 sittings at 5:30, 7:30 and 9:30. All of the dining times are printed on the back of the daily programme, which you can get from reception. Lots of people enjoy sitting on a large table with fellow passengers who they don't know, and it is a good way to make friends. And the theatre shows are repeated each night at 7 p.m, 8:30 and 10, so it's perfectly possible to see an earlier show and then have your meal afterwards. So all of this switching around of dining times isn't really necessary in order to have a good time. But if you really do need to change your dining table, ask at the Blue Danube on day 1, but if that doesn't work, hopefully our experiences on our MSC cruise will prove helpful to you. Please subscribe for more videos, and until next time, thanks for watching.